The Ravens fall short yet again, and now questions mount about whether or not this team is competent enough to win a championship.
The Ravens, they have not had such a bad year since 2015, where they finished 5-11. Armageddon is here.
And the calls for change are growing deafening. What should the Ravens do? We talk about that and so much more coming up on the Locked On Ravens Squad show.
Rise and shine. It's the Ravens Squad. Everything Baltimore Ravens every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the heart of Charm City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Flock together and squad up. The Ravens Squad show starts now.
Welcome to the post-game edition of the Ravens Squad show. Unfortunately, the Ravens fall to the Kansas City Chiefs here in week 4, and it is not a great day to be a Ravens fan, unfortunately, but we're here to talk about it. And you guys can go ahead and comment through the pain if you like here on the comment section. Thank you again for joining us here. We are available twice a week, including during the post-game show as of today and on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Joining as always with Kevin Oestreicher and Kadri Ismail. We're here to talk Ravens football. Kevin, how are you feeling after this big-time loss? Unfortunately, the Ravens lose yet again to the Kansas City Chiefs. Yuck.
Man, how do you think I'm feeling? I am feeling not good. I'm feeling dejected. I am feeling a lot of things right now that I didn't think I'd be feeling through the first month of the season here, especially with all that we talked about with the standard and, you know, the expectations that have been set for this team, at least preseason wise. And we talked about it, how much the Ravens, they said all the right things until Kyle Hamilton said the wrong thing. But, you know, they said all the right things in terms of like, oh, we want to be that 2000 standards team. We are tired of finishing where we want to finish. It's not about that they're losing to good teams. And I said this on the watch along the instant reaction show. It's not about that they're losing to good teams, because we could have had a scenario where the Ravens played all 3 of those teams really tough and lost all 3 of those games. But it's how they're doing it. It's the issues that continue to pop up, not just week after week, but year after year. And that, I think, is what has grown tired for the entire Ravens fan base. Defensively, again, the Chiefs had 1 punt in this game, and it happened with 3 minutes to go in the game. It took the Ravens 57 minutes to force a punt against that Chiefs offense, which, by the way, was not very good coming into this game. And the Ravens defense made them look like they were the best team in the league on offense. So it's just like you're seeing the same things over and over again. Yes, they got banged up with injuries, but even with the guys in there, the team still wasn't good, particularly the defense still wasn't good. Did Roquan have a good game in this game before he got injured? No. Did Marlon have a good game in this game before he got injured? No. And you never want to see injuries, right? It's unfortunate. It stinks. But I'm not going to sit up here and say, man, the Ravens are super banged up. While it does add context to things, they weren't playing good when they were healthy either.
I think Matthew Kim is correct as far as our show is concerned. You're asking us to end your suffering now. I get it, brother. We're all in the same boat. We are trying to figure out what is going on with this ball club, because you're looking at a team where the expectations were just out of the world. And yeah, defensively, as Kevin so eloquently put it, they were not playing well before we saw this fiasco today. It just was one of those situations where, as much as we want to say, oh, you know, we just need to get healthy and things will be okay, that's not the case. I don't know where the Ravens go from here when it comes to this Ravens defense, when it comes to even this Ravens offense. I think the offense, you know, the way in which Lamar Jackson has run the offense, taking sacks, I don't think his decision-making is necessarily bad, but also I do see where there was something going on, and clearly with the hamstring issue, he wasn't his full, I was going to say Michael Jordan self, but he wasn't. You know, he just didn't have that next level escapability, explode down the field. We hadn't really seen that since Buffalo, to be honest with you. I know that Cleveland's defensive front was formidable. I know that the Lions' defensive front, Aiden Hutchinson and company, they're formidable. And clearly from a Chris Jones and company, they formidable as well. But usually we've seen Lamar Jackson overcome all types of greatness across the defensive front. It just wasn't. Steve Spagnuolo had his way with Lamar Jackson and company, and a lot of that has to go on Todd Monken as well. So it's not like it's just, oh, it's all Lamar. No, you got to help your quarterback out. You got to know be able to read the tea leaves to see why he was doing what he was doing and the struggles that he had, and the adjustments simply weren't there.
Yeah, let's talk about this offense, Q, because that's a great segue to my first point. The Ravens offense started off hot. It looked like the Chiefs were not going to be able to stop them. We know the defense was going to struggle because they've been struggling all season, but we thought at least the offense would put up a fight similar to what they've been doing the first 3 weeks of the season. But it seemed as though in crucial downs, most notably third down and short, fourth and short, when they had a chance to either run the football in or get a first down in whatever fashion, once again, similar to the 2023 playoffs against the Chiefs, they took away Derrick Henry, took away the threat of the run. It seemed as though Lamar Jackson in shotgun, passing the ball on third and short. How would you assess the play calling, especially in the red zone, in these third and short, these pivotal moments in the game where Lamar Jackson is being asked to do, maybe in some cases, entirely too much?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's him trying to hold on to the ball to make the spectacular big play as opposed to just marching down the football field. Now, I will say, yes, that first drive was textbook. It was, hey, we're running the ball, we're running it effectively. We'll then sprinkle in some passing and got the ball out to Mark Andrews. You thought that, okay, great. Here comes some pressure from Steve Spagnuolo. You know, you held up well underneath it. And then the scorer was what? Justice Hill, basically on a quick screen to counteract the issues that they had, number one, in the red zone in previous games, but then also number two, the pressure that Steve Spagnuolo was presenting. And so that was just awesome. From there, I don't know what happened. It was like, wow, we are looking at an offense that had amnesia. Like they didn't know who they were. And after the first drive, it just totally went south.
I feel like when you have, and especially when you're a team like the Ravens and you have so much talent stacked across, you know, the entire team, especially on offense, you are actively sabotaging yourself when you don't put your best players in positions to make plays. I get the Justice Hill's technically their third down back. Like, yes, 100%. I'm with that. But certain situations just call for Derrick Henry. And this is, again, it dates back to last season when Derrick Henry was not on the field for great 2-point conversions where, yeah, hey, having Derrick Henry out there, even just as a distraction, would help you. Sam, you and I talked about this for Saturday's bonus episode. Keaton Mitchell clearly could have helped the Ravens in certain areas here, but it's crazy because the Ravens in this game, it's not like they were running the ball bad. I mean, that's what I keep coming back to. Yeah, 8 for 42 for Derrick Henry, which is 5.3 yards per carry. Even when you take out Justice Hill's long 71-yard run, the Ravens still averaged 6 yards a carry, essentially. I don't know why they want to, and again, it just feels like they get in their own heads about it. Like, felt like the AFC Championship all over again. Yeah, where it's like they get off to the fast start, and then, you know, they can't capitalize. And honestly, the Chiefs couldn't capitalize early, 2 field goals, which credits to the defense for doing that before it all unraveled. But it felt like they got in their own head. Like, yeah, we can't keep up with the Chiefs by running. It just felt like that same script over again. Even when Derrick Henry was running the ball effectively, Lamar was taking off and running effectively too. He had a nice 20-yard gain to put the Ravens into field goal range at the end of the first half. And it just felt like they went away from it. So I know that all the attention right now, it is on John Harbaugh. It is on Zach Orr. But yeah, Todd Monken definitely not excused in all this as well.
Tanya Bowman, she has a great point as well. And it's something that I looked at too. I thought, Lamar, she's saying that Lamar has been injured and he basically didn't really want to run for 3 weeks. Monken knew the Chiefs would blitz and he had no answers. Take Henry into at the 1 yard line. They didn't trust I get what she's saying. So basically they didn't trust the O-line, or at least she felt like he didn't trust the O-line. Monken wanted to do something else as far as being creative. I get the creativity. as far as Justice Hill and trying not to quote unquote be predictable. But I think in that prediction element of it all, you got to have something where you're like, look, we're better than you. We are going to line up in our awesome personnel with 2 potential gold jackets in the backfield. And we're just going to go ahead and you could be creative within that personnel grouping as far as plays are concerned. But yeah, to take him off the field, you could see where the Chiefs were like, listen, they are not going to be running the ball. Let's go ahead and either bring a whole lot of pressure or they're going to sit back and allow their upfront guys to get to Lamar and knowing that no one's going to be open down the field because of the coverage that they're presenting.
Yeah, the offensive line looked like they were struggling a little bit. Lots of blitzes going through the middle of the O-line. I just don't understand. I see what's happening. It looks like they're panicking. The defense can't stop the Chiefs. That's what happened during the first half of the Chiefs and Ravens game in 2023. Looks like we got to put points on the board. Let's do whatever it takes to put points on the board. And running the football takes time away from the clock that we'll need to put points on the board. So that's Monken's mindset. That's what it feels like anyway. And you just take away your best weapon because besides Lamar Jackson, your best weapon is, in fact, Derrick Henry. And keeping him off of the field when he can do what he does best, which is run the football on 3rd and short, 4th and short, is crucial. And if you don't trust your offensive line to get that 1 yard, then you have a whole nother problem entirely, which we know they do. We know they have a problem at offensive line, and they're just admitting it to us without even speaking it out loud. Kevin, I want to get your thoughts before we go on to break about the Ravens offensive line. How did you think that it looked? I know that, Ronnie Stanley didn't play because, of their ankle injury. He got stepped out a little bit. How do you think his offensive line looked overall, even with that in mind?
Yeah, I thought it was fine early. They were making plays, getting to the second level. Derrick Henry got sprung on a run by that group, but, there's still stuff they need to work on and improve where, this is not the best O-line in the league. And again, I don't expect it to be the best O-line in the league. I do think, though, it was interesting because, early in the game, you saw, for example, the Ravens hold up well in pass protection, give Lamar some time to throw, and then Lamar was trying to take off, and I think it was Jerry Tillery who kind of shed early on, and Lamar essentially ran into the sack there. That's going to go on the, technical team sack. Oh, the Ravens gave up a sack there, but that was more Lamar running into it than anything. That necessarily, the offensive line at this point is, at least in this game, pretty far down on the list for me in terms of the problems that went wrong in this game. Now, again, we saw, they were opening up some holes in the run game. I do think they got some pressure as the game went on. I thought it was better early than it was late. But again, I'm much more worried about the defense. I'm much more worried about the coaching, obviously the injury situation as well. In this game in particular, that offensive line is far down on the totem pole for me in terms of what I'm worried about.
I want to say that Kyle Hamilton, and I'm just reading over his statement, and he apologized to the fans for poor choice of words and saying that they were spoiled. And, he actually clarifies, look, the expectations that the fan base has had because of the standard that has been set in Raven history. And he's recognizing that they have not stood up to the standard that has been Raven football. But it was cool because he then also talked about how, this is early in the season. It's early in the season and it's really bad. So let's just say that. But he's also talking about the different guys that went in because of the massive amounts of injuries. And he pretty much gave a shout out to the defensive guys that were able to go out there and play effectively. Jake Hummel and Teddy Buchanan were 2 guys I wanted to point out in particular that played very effective. And it's interesting because from a Jake Hummel standpoint, before Roquan got injured, obviously Teddy Buchanan was out there and Trenton Simpson was nowhere to be seen until Roquan got hurt. Then Trent Simpson comes in. Trent Simpson came in and went out because Jake Hummel came back and got in once they realized that Trent Simpson is doing the same thing over again, expecting a different result. So I don't know what it is as far as the future for Trenton Simpson, but that dude is knee deep in the doghouse when you got your special teams ace coming in playing significant snaps on defense over you.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to touch on that because I have some interesting thoughts about Jake Hummel and that Ravens defense with the potential loss of Roquan Smith. We'll touch on all that and more next here on the Ravens Squad Show. All right, this episode is brought to you by Square, your favorite neighborhood sports run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. There are the places that bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. There is a local spot in my neighborhood that comes alive every Sunday during football season. Everyone's in team colors. The energy is incredible, and I feel like the entire block in there is cheering together. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/LockedOnNFL to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. We're back here at Ravens Squad Show. Again, we are available twice a week, once during the post-game show and once every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also catch Locked On Ravens podcast with Kevin Oestreicher 5 days a week, and sometimes even during the weekends. You saw me and Kevin this past weekend, yesterday, on the show. So make sure you tune in for your Ravens news coverage. Always here to give you the best news that we can possibly give you. Now, Q made an interesting point before the break about the Ravens defense. Roquan Smith going down with an injury. Jake Hummel had to step up because Trenton Simpson wasn't really doing it. We know last year and a half, he hasn't really been that guy that the Ravens have hoped he'd be. But Jake Hummel comes in and he performs well. And I talked about this on the last show, how Jake Hummel does everything that the Ravens want from him to do. All of the things that Jake Hummel, we thought that Roquan Smith would do, Jake Hummel has done it. Although he is a rookie, he is, doesn't have the experience, but he does do things that Roquan is asked to do. And I thought, if Roquan were to go down, or if Roquan continued to struggle, remember, Roquan struggled besides the week 2 matchup, would they potentially put Jake Hummel into the football game for a long period of time, even though Roquan has that big-time contract? We don't know the extent of Roquan's injury, but Q, I wanted to put it back to you. How would you assess Jake Hummel, how he looked? I thought he looked really good. He showed flashes to me, but it was during the later portions of the game where the game was almost out of reach, in my opinion. What are your thoughts about Jake Hummel and maybe a long-term future of Jake Hummel in that defense?
Well, I mean, I think there's a reason why Jake Hummel, has the role that he has, and it's more of a special teams role. So I'm not going to gas him up. The game was well in hand, and basically it's about, okay, we need some bodies out there to get out of this game and not make a bad situation horribly worse. For us as Raven fans, it was horribly worse. But for what the coaching staff is talking about, they just want to go ahead and let the clock strike 0. We need 11 guys out there. Jake, you're up, and we want to see you. Now, how he competed, I will absolutely tip my cap to him. I will absolutely say that, I'm sure he was sitting there and, going over plays. He probably was the look team guy for the Ravens all week and not necessarily expecting much else. So for him to go in, know his assignment, and do his job as effectively as he did really says an awful lot about what Jake Hummel is, which is a pro. You got to be a pro, and you got to just always be ready because you never know. And in that particular case, yeah, he was ready, and I take my hat off to him.
Yeah, and I think for Hummel in particular, like he showed flashes with the Rams back when he was on defense for them, coverage guy. Like he can do some stuff in that regard. I thought he looked good too. And again, I think it honestly speaks more to how the Ravens feel about Trenton Simpson and how they feel about Jake Hummel in terms of why he was out there for so long. I mean, Trenton just hasn't been able to crack any rotation here. When he was on the field, it looked rough at times. Like, I think to me, and you're right. Like, we don't know how long Roquan's going to be out for, what the extent of that injury is. John Harbaugh is obviously keeping that very close to the vest, and probably know more tomorrow. But I mean, I'd put Hummel out there in more of a full-time role, and maybe that is, when Roquan gets back, maybe Teddy and Jake can split some snaps like that. That's something that I think could be possible too, definitely. So I thought that Jake played well. Obviously, well is a relative term considering how that defense looked in general, but I guess if you want to take a positive away, that could be one of them.
Yeah, and I did misspeak. Jake Hummel obviously isn't a rookie, but he is a rookie for this defense. It's his first time on the field for the Ravens defense, and it'd be interesting. And maybe even Higgins. You never know. Higgins could be a guy that could come in, and Roquan hasn't looked great, which is I think the point of this is that he hasn't looked great. Obviously, hopefully he comes back from that injury, but I don't know. It looks like the Ravens have a lot of questions they need answered, and a lot of soul searching to do. A 1-3 start doesn't afford you a lot of opportunity to get those answers in due time, but they need to work fast because that Texas game is coming up. And even though Texas didn't look all that great, they are still one of those teams that can come out and beat you with those pass rushes, which we'll get into early on. We're talking about Chiefs and Ravens right now, and let's talk more about this defense. Nate Wiggins goes down with an injury. He was questionable to return, but it looked like that was not a great injury for Nate Wiggins. The injuries are continuing to mount for the team, most notably on defense. The Ravens feels like most of their defensive line was just out. No Broderick Washington. Donnie Madubuike is out. Calvin Noy was in street clothes on the sideline. It seems like more and more players are needing to step up. Do they have what it takes to close things out? How nervous are you, Kevin, about these injuries that continue to mount? We'll focus on the defense first. Do you think this defense has what it takes to bounce back? They're already struggling with the players they had. Now it seems that more and more players are going down. May not be an end in sight for this defense.
Yeah, I'm obviously very concerned, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But I think it was ridiculous that Wiggins or any starter was still out there once Cooper Rush came into the game. I think this was completely avoidable, in my opinion. And now we heard, I believe, from John Ahn of the Baltimore Banner that Nate was in a sling after the game. So that's something you never want to hear. I don't know, bicep, collar. I mean, I've broken my collarbone before. You're in a sling for that. I mean, I don't know if that's collarbone or elbow or whatever. He definitely couldn't move his arm when he saw him on the cart heading into the locker room. So I don't know what it is, but Nate's been one of your best, if not your best, defensive players so far this season, and to lose him potentially for a stretch where you have to rattle off a couple wins here before your bye week, I mean, that'd be devastating. And yeah, look, we can call it what it is. I'm not saying the injuries aren't having any impact. Like with Nnamdi out there, Travis, Broderick, they're a much better defensive line. Even though Marlon's had struggles this season, he's someone that's shown he can make plays in moments. Roquan hasn't been good this season, but yeah, it'd be nice for the Ravens to have him and hopefully bounce back and look like the Roquan we saw against Cleveland. And, I do think that we were all correct in terms of Isaiah Likely's usage. He played, but he really didn't have that big of an impact, wasn't playing a lot of snaps, and Mark has kind of come alive these last 2 weeks. But I'm kind of looking at Ronnie Stanley. That's a big injury if he has to miss any extended period of time there. Obviously, we heard the reports before the game that he wasn't looking 100% during warmups and clearly just wasn't ready to go. And, while again, their offensive line was not the biggest concern in this game, you don't want Joe Noteboom starting a lot of games for you in place of Ronnie Stanley over the course of these next couple of weeks. So injuries are certainly a concern. They're mounting. And obviously, the big one is Lamar. We don't know what that's going to look like. And he was walking with a limp to the locker room apparently after the game, according to Gianna Hahn. So we'll see. But all eyes are definitely on Lamar, and then the rest of the guys kind of filter in as such.
That Lamar one, that's the big boy one right there. That's the elephant in the room. When you talk just big picture, I know Nate Wiggins looked like it was an elbow. I'm not, clearly he's a first round draft choice, and his talent speaks for itself, but you could replace him. Yeah, Roquan, that's a huge one as well, but you could replace him. Nnamdi, yeah, Madubuike, that's one that is going to be tight. That's going to hurt, but you can replace him. Cooper Rush is not the replacement that we need for Lamar Jackson when it comes to being 1-3 and trying to look to turn this season around. So Lamar Jackson's injury is what is the biggest elephant in the room. And it does look like what was going on earlier. I should say earlier in the prior games. It didn't look like he was at his full capabilities and why he might have been more limited in his explosiveness down the football field in certain circumstances. So this game, boy, I mean, it is as ugly as it gets, but losing Lamar just makes it just even that much more concerning.
Yeah, I can't imagine if the facts are that Lamar Jackson is gone long term. We've seen people say that he's been hurt all season, and maybe there was something that kind of extended that injury or made it worse. But man, a team that's 1-3. I mean, we talked about this being a must-win game. Houston Texans game, must-win game. The Ravens cannot afford to fall to 1-4. Pittsburgh Steelers, although they don't look hot, certainly look better than the Ravens are currently at the top of the division. I can't see an avenue in which the Ravens go any further than, where they are if they don't have Lamar Jackson under center. Let's talk about the injury to Lamar Jackson a little bit further, Q, because you mentioned that Cooper Rush doesn't appear to be the answer. If he is gone long-term, could you see the Ravens making a move for a player outside of the team and
No.
perhaps bringing someone in? No? It's just that?
No.
Cooper
No,
Rush?
they're gonna hang their hat on Cooper Rush. The season is going to be effectively over because Lamar brings so much to the table. I know that the offense will shift and change, and that shift and change is what we saw with Cooper in there, which is, if the defense is going to drop back, then basically I'm just going to be check down Charlie. And if I get an opportunity to take a shot down the field, I will. It's going to be him relying more on his guys, giving him the run after catch ability, making some contested throws. There are some skilled guys, clearly, on the team to be able to do that. But then you also look at the elephant in the room as far as the offensive line. Will he have time to be able to execute the offense? And that's something that is a huge question mark, because Lamar Jackson, what made him part of what makes Lamar so incredibly special, it's that he has that second play mentality. The first play is what's scripted. You look at the defense and what it's doing, but he has this escapability, and now he can sling it down the field and get guys open or throw guys open. We saw a little bit of that today before, obviously, the hamstring. And even on the replay, when you're looking at the replay of the time before, I mean, it looked like he just ran into a guy, and at first I was like, oh, is this like a concussion or something? And that's when they reported the hamstring. But again, I think that, I mean, you might be able to go against a 1-3 Houston Texans team with Cooper Rush. But, I mean, that's it. The Rams, mother of pearl, they're going to mud stomp us. And the bye week is going to just go ahead and slap us upside the head, too. So we might just lose the bye week. Man, let me stop before I get started.
Man, they also can't cut Cooper Rush unless they want to take on a pretty big dead cap hit. They would incur essentially over $2 million in a dead cap hit were they to cut Cooper Rush. They can move on from him next year and save about $500,000. But Q's right. They're going to stick with him for the rest of the season. This is the guy that they chose, and right, like if Lamar does have to miss any extended period of time, and this is the conversation of a backup quarterback, like these next games are important, and if Cooper can lead them to 1-1, I guess we'll call it that, then you're 2-4 heading into the bye week, which, man, really just does not sound good at all. But like, it's better than 0-2. I mean, the Ravens, it's just two completely different vibes right now for where the Texans are to where the Ravens are right now. Texans coming off their biggest win of the season. Yes, it was against the Titans. I get it. I understand it. But they needed that win badly, and they get it. And now if you're this Ravens team, I mean, look, if you can't get pressure against that Texans O-line, you're just not getting pressure all year. You just chalk it up, pack it up, send it off.
Mm-hmm.
That Texans O-line is the worst in the NFL. I don't know if everybody saw the Jeffrey Simmons play from earlier today where it took him literally a quarter of a second, sack CJ Stroud. If you can't get pressure with that offensive line, you're not getting pressure all year. So it's going to depend if Lamar's out there, obviously. And hamstring injuries are tricky compared to, some of these other things. And, if it's a strain or whatever. I know Q, you're much more well-versed in this than I am, but if this is something where it kind of lingers for Lamar, like, you're kind of diving into that can be a problem for a player that does rely so much on his athleticism and explosiveness, ability to maneuver around the pocket, take off and run, make throws, throwing off his back foot and, contorted throws like that. Hamstring injuries can be tricky considering, how much he does want to move around, and that's what makes him special.
Yeah, the hamstring is about max acceleration, max deceleration, and cutting. Um, and so when you have that for an amazing thoroughbred type athlete, the likes of Lamar Jackson, that changes things. Can he, sling it around and do what he needs to do? Yes, he can, and he has the talent and all that. But again, his style of football is one where he wants to run and he wants to put pressure on the defense. But if he cannot, sitting back in that pocket with that offensive line, that's suicide. You're going to put yourself in a position where you're just going to hurt yourself.
Agreed. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get a little real about this team, of where we see them moving forward the rest of the season, including some changes that may occur prior to the end of the season. We'll touch on that here next on the Raven Squad Show. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who's Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players deliver when they matter most. Let's break it down. For the Baltimore Ravens, I would say that Derrick Henry delivered in a big way in the first quarter. Big time plays, but when the pressure was on, he came through, no hesitation, no delay. And even watching week after week, this performance wasn't a fluke. Derrick Henry is on a streak, and just like Derrick Henry delivered for the Baltimore Ravens, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You can save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through 11/18. All right, guys, we're back here with the Raven Squad Show. Big time loss to the Ravens. Unfortunately, the Ravens are the team that falls 1-3. Only one of those teams are going to make it to 2-2, and it's the Chiefs and not the Ravens, unfortunately. Because of that, we are going to have a really tough conversation. At least the Ravens should be having this tough conversation as well about where this team is headed. Q, I'll start with you. They're 1-3. We knew this first 6-game stretch was going to be tough. They've only won 1 out of the first 3, and it's the game that everyone expected the Ravens to win. Where's your mindset with this team moving forward? Let's just say Lamar Jackson comes back and plays in week 5 or week 4 against the Texans. Where do you think this Ravens team heads? Is there still playoffs, Super Bowl aspirations are still there? Or I want to get where your mindset is at with this team.
Oh, I think to talk grandeur is irresponsible. I think any true Ravens fan that has been watching this team play, and then if you are a football fan in general and have watched the Bills play, took care of business at home yet again. I think that was their 14th straight home win at Highmark. You obviously the Chiefs still have their issues themselves, but from a division standpoint, it'll be interesting. You got the Chargers that look like world beaters in one regards, and then they suck it up and lose to a first-time guy in Jackson Dart. So it's crazy in that regard. The Raiders, they're finding ways to lose games for themselves. Smith threw 3 picks, and right when they had a chance to win on a 54-yard game winner, they get the field goal blocked. Like, what in the world is that? So that division looks like the Chiefs can pretty much, kind of do the usual thing and scare themselves. I don't know. I guess I really haven't been paying too much attention to Denver. But when it comes to, yes, the AFC North, like, that's the thing that gets me. It's John Harbaugh since 2012 is 4-7. They're over in Pittsburgh, and believe me, I got a lot of Steeler friends, and they get on the Steelers something fierce as far as what Raven fans are saying with John Harbaugh. Like, basically overstayed his welcome. But Mike Tomlin has done more with less. You give Mike Tomlin Lamar Jackson, bruh. I mean, I think it's a different conversation. So
yes, sir.
the way in which this AFC North looks with Aaron Rodgers and how they took care of business against a pretty good Vikings team. Like those guys, they're no joke, and I think that to go over and play in Ireland, their one quarterback gets beat up and robbed, and they still
Crazy.
come away with
Crazy.
the victory, and their defense, like TJ Watt and company, my goodness, Cam Hayward, they're like, "Look, we'll give you some incentives, just don't hold out." And he's been balling. Cleveland, well, we already whooped up on them, but yet at the same time, we got to face them again. And I can easily see that game being, or that series being, a split. And Cincinnati, you just kind of like rolling the dice. You don't really truly know what you're going to get with Cincinnati just because. So all eyes focus right back here on what you got going on in your own backyard. And it's, number one, are you going to be healthy enough to compete? Number two, Eric DeCosta is definitely going to have to really consider making some moves, some strong moves, a big splash move for a D tackle rush in. John Harbaugh, like, I don't know, Chuck Smith was brought in to be the pass rush guy. Man, he might be the clean jersey pass rush specialist because all the quarterbacks that the Ravens been up against, like the equipment guys, like, oh, look at that jersey. Jared, hey, Jared, do you want to watch that? No? Oh, you just want us to kind of lightly, because of your armpits a little sweaty, just because you was out there running a little bit. No problem. Hey, Josh Allen, man, we're gonna give your jersey away to the charity of your choice because that thing looks so good. I mean, wow, like you had Matabike sack you, but that was it. Yeah, no, Joe. I know you're 40. It's okay, brother. Proud to the people. You got sacked. I'm just going to go ahead and not say anything. Just keep it moving. The Browns jersey looks nuts anyway. So, but outside of that, like Chuck Smith might as well just be like, go ahead and sack himself. I didn't get the job done in helping this team whatsoever. Like, done. Okay? That's all I'm going to say about that.
Man, I don't know how I follow that up. I don't think I can.
Buddy.
I'm gonna try. I mean, look, at the end of the day, when we're wondering about what changes should be made or how things need to be approached, I've been pretty vocal about the fact that I think John Harbaugh deserves no more shields. And I've been saying that, like, you've fired an offensive coordinator, technically two, with Marty Mornhinweg after Lamar's rookie season. Don Martindale goes, Mike McDonald leaves. It's a third-year offensive coordinator, a second-year defensive coordinator. But I still think that they're not going to fire John Harbaugh until after the season if they have whether it's a disappointing end to the year, don't make the playoffs, wild card exit, division round exit. I mean, I truly think they might fire Zach Orr. Like, I truly think that they might do it. And the reasoning is because, again, everything just looks so dejected. You could see the body language is awful right now. Like, all of it's true. Everything we've been saying. I mean, it's hard to come back from that. And again, I use this example on the Instant Reaction show, and I think I'm crazy for doing it, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm a Nuggets fan. All right. Basketball, NBA, I'm a big Denver Nuggets fan. And when they won the championship in 2023, they had a player named Bones Highland who was unhappy with his role. He was making all these distractions. It was causing strain on the locker room. And they decided at the trade deadline to trade him for a fraction of what his actual value was, because they thought that year they had the roster and the chemistry and all the pieces in place to win a championship. So they wanted no distractions, and they traded him away. The locker room improved, no more distractions. They win the championship. You can tell the players don't agree with some of these play calls. Like, you can just straight up tell on the field that the body language, Lamar's super frustrated, and like everybody's frustrated. It's confusing. I'm not saying Zach Orr is like the root of their problems, or that Zach Orr is causing turmoil in the locker room. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. But sometimes when the noise gets loud enough, and we know the Ravens don't listen to it, when the noise gets loud enough, something has to happen. Not only the noise, when the results are what they are right now, something has to happen. I'll remind everybody again, I did it on the watch along, on the instant reaction show. I'll do it again right now. 2019, the Ravens started 2-0. They went 2-2 because in each of those games against the Chiefs and the Browns, week 3 and week 4, they gave up 500 total yards of offense in each game. In each game. What did Derrick do? He said, I'm not doing this. He cut Tim Williams. He signed LJ Fort and Josh Bynes. A couple weeks later, he traded for Marcus Peters. He shuffled guys around. And then that Ravens team, they got 12 straight wins after that. So at a point now, and that was when they were 2-2. Now they're 1-3. So you need to make some level of a change. Because again, I don't know what personnel change on the field they would make here. Like, I just don't. They're, first of all, too banged up. Second of all, I don't envision them trading a first-round pick for a guy, even though I think that they should. I don't think that they will. So what's the step? I mean, the result and the message should be that the results aren't good enough for what these teams' aspirations were. Again, you never want to see a guy lose his job. You know, I think Zach Orr has a lot of potential, but potential doesn't take you very far when you have Super Bowl aspirations. You need the results, as Q says, now. And that's not what they're getting now. And so you can't stay patient sometimes. Sometimes you can. Like, they stayed patient with Orr last season. You know, they brought in help for him with Dean Pease. I get that. But you have an experienced veteran coach on your staff in Chuck Pagano that could probably take over that role pretty easily. I think it's a pretty 1-for-1 right there. Not that, like, the secondary has been anything great, but, like, at some point, something has to happen. And after 3 weeks of playing 3 contenders and losing in a crazy, disgusting way each time, you know, you're kind of in a dire situation right now. And again, you want to stop everything and stop all this negativeness before it gets too late. You don't want to make a move at like 1-6. By that point, your season, like, what's that going to do for you? Like, yeah, that's done. Do it now when you know things can still be turned around, because again, no one wants to hear it right now, but the season still is very young. It's a month into the season. They have a lot to work on. And if they play this way, they're not going to win a lot of games, but you still have a long way to go. Make a change now before it gets even worse, potentially.
I like it. I like the idea, and a lot of negatives in this game, but let's talk about a positive, because we do have Papa Loop over here.
Yeah.
Mr. Steve Loop.
Shout out special teams, man. Shout out the special teams.
Special teams. Nick Moore, Jordan Stout showed some improvement, and Tyler Loop has not missed a kick. He missed the extra point, but hasn't missed a field goal kick all season, looking really good. So, I mean, at least one of our guys came through. So, appreciate you, Steve, for joining the show. Yeah. But at least we got that one down. I
do want to say that the kickoffs and that was a big topic of the conversation, right? The kickoffs, Tyler. I thought Tyler was really good on the kickoffs today. Like, he had a couple he put in. Nick's talked about putting some of those kickoffs in the corner. Yeah. He's talked to us about that. Tyler had a couple of those plays. And again, like the cut, and he was getting involved in the coverage team. He was trying to tackle guys and getting involved in that action too. So shout out to him for trying to get in on that and making some plays there. But again, that was something, because we know Tyler's been pretty nails as a field goal kicker this year. I know he missed the extra point in Buffalo, but he's been really good as a kicker. I thought it was a huge step up from Tyler today to make some of the kicks that he made on those. Because again, everybody's learning how to kind of do this whole landing zone thing. It's very different. And so Tyler coming in as a rookie wasn't great on kickoffs the first 3 weeks. I thought it was a big step up for him in week 4, and I want to give him his flowers for that.
Yeah, I agree too, because it's so interesting. You know, Arrowhead is not an easy place to kick. He did it. No big deal. Buffalo, not an easy place to kick. He did it. Then again, showing his mental toughness as far as the kickoff return and you know, putting himself in harm's way, if you will. All of that really shows some good, strong signs. And I know that, yes, you're looking for bright spots. Well, we got a bright spot in Tyler Loop.
We do. We got a big-time bright spot in Tyler Loop. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the Ravens and what changes need to be made. Kevin, you made a great point about, you know, Eric DeCosta needed to make some changes, and he might have to do so. Also, we need to talk about the coaching a little bit more, because changes are coming, I feel like, whether you like it or not. But we'll touch on it here next on the Ravens Squad Show. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IAHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else. As of August 2025, from footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. We're back here with the Ravens Squad show. Again, we're available after every game, post-game show, and every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. In fact, you can get Locked On Ravens podcast with Kevin Oestreicher 5 days a week, and even on the weekends, depending on the news. And been plenty of news here at the Ravens, so expect a lot of weekend content with Kevin Oestreicher moving forward. So that'll be something to behold. So make sure you tune in if you're a Ravens fan. Make sure you like and subscribe, share to a friend who doesn't know about the show. It'll really help us out. Make sure you give us 5 stars wherever you're listening to your podcast as well, and comment, helping the show out a great deal as we get concluding with this crazy post-game show. Look, we didn't really expect the Ravens to, blow out the Chiefs, or, we thought that there was a chance the Ravens could lose the game, but the way in which they lost this game has the fans in an uproar. I've seen more fire Zachary Orr comments and posts throughout social media than ever before. Of course, the fire Harbaugh chants are out there. Kevin, you mentioned the likelihood of the Ravens firing Zachary Orr prior to the end of the season is higher than, maybe some would think. When they do fire Zachary Orr, if they do fire Zachary Orr, who would replace Zachary Orr? That's the main thing. Who do you bring to replace Zach Orr? Is it a Chuck Pagano? Do you bring back a Dean Pease, who isn't on the team currently, but they seem to be very fond of the guy? Where do you see the Ravens turning to if, in fact, there was a situation where Zachary Orr was no longer the coach?
Yeah, I would probably say it's Pagano at this point. I don't know that they'd bring Dean Pease in, just cold, and him not being with the team for the past handful of months to be that guy for them. And it's not about the fact that Orr isn't talented as a coach or has potential. Like I said, it's just the Ravens can't afford to wait here. And that's kind of when you have a start to the season like this, it speeds up timelines. And look, for a lot of these teams that we were anticipating to be top contenders, the Bills are undefeated right now. Eagles are undefeated right now. All these teams that you're going to have to see in January, in February. The Lions, they're 3-1 after having an abysmal start to their season in week number 1. The Packers are playing right now. They're 2-1, up 13-2. It's like a baseball score against the Cowboys right now. The Ravens are in really unprecedented territory. Even starting 2-2 would have been fine. It would have been okay. Still wouldn't have erased some of the stuff that happened, but it would have been okay. That's what the Chiefs are right now. The division right now, yes, Pittsburgh, they're at the top of that division, and it's going to take a little bit of work to dethrone them being 3-1. Now, I still, if they make changes, I have confidence that they can. But again, when they play like this, and when, I saw a comment that Lamar isn't having fun out there, which is, it's 100% correct. When is the most fun to watch Lamar Jackson and the Ravens? It's when they're jumping around, having fun, celebrating. You can tell the joy that they have, and they're having fun with one another. The complete opposite. And it's just the broadcast was so deflating. Every other camera cut after a play was either an injured Raven or a Raven looking distraught on the sideline. Every single one was just, and that's not the vibes that you want. So you have to make a change, in my opinion, to eliminate those. And, it's never fun for a guy, because you can clearly tell the defensive players care about Zach Orr. They feed off his energy. It's not like Zach Orr is this coach that everybody wants fired in the organization. That's far from the case. But at the same time, something has to give here. And it's not that the defense has looked mediocre or kind of bad. It is atrocious right now. And they're playing good offenses. But those are the offenses, again, you're going to have to see in January and February. These are the measuring stick games for you. And right now, you are not measuring up to those other teams.
That's so funny that you say that these are the offenses that you're facing now, and it's the measuring stick because in the beginning of the year, I mean, that's where we were saying, hey, it's a now proposition. And yeah, we kept beating the drum of saying, look, we want to win now. Well, at the same time, you knew that that first 6 weeks of the season, man, you get through that gauntlet of playoff caliber teams and you show yourself the better team, man, you're ready to just say, okay, we're in the driver's seat. Right now, I don't think they're even sniffing an opportunity to get over 500. So to change later makes no sense. If you're going to change, saying that you can turn this around, that means that you feel, and I think that is a fair statement slash exploratory question to present to the powers that be. I don't know if it's Steve Bisciotti talked to Eric DaCosta or who makes the call or what, but if you lose the team and there's no way to go up from here, then skip all the, well, you know, you need to let Zach Orr go and all that other. Man, we had a chance for Mike McDonald. We had a chance for some of those coaches on that defensive staff just to Mike McDonald go on up. You put the defensive staff guy in as your D coordinator. It didn't matter. I mean, there was a ton of guys from Anthony Weaver on down. But that ship has sailed. And so now, because let me go off on a rant real quickly. Just simply put, when you look at Seattle and Arizona were playing, Seattle was up 20-6. Fourth quarter comes around, Arizona comes back. Marvin Harrison Jr. gets a touchdown. Their running back gets a touchdown. Now it's tied up, and you're like, oh boy. There was no panic. There was no anything. Sam Darnold, nowhere near the caliber of Lamar Jackson. But they just go down the field, put themselves in field goal position. They smartly use their time on their clock, the whole flow. They win the game. And it just was like, wow, that could have been us. It could have been us. We could have been sitting there talking about this situation where you got a young up-and-coming coach who is making headways and doing things the right way, and he could have been on this Ravens ball club. Instead, yeah, we're looking at them in the fourth quarter, the double-digit lead, hold on to said lead, and win the game against a division opponent. Division opponent, not an outside opponent, a division opponent that knows you, you know them. Yeah, this is a now proposition. That bye week can't come fast enough.
Yeah, that bye week is going to be very interesting. If the Ravens are 1-5 at the bye week, they'll be 1-6. Oh my gosh,
got to roll if it's 1-5.
1-5, heads are going to roll.
Unless Steve Bisciotti is like, I'm just going to ride it out. 1-5, let's just ride it out, and then I'll fire everybody out.
There's no one for nobody.
I can't imagine. Steve Bisciotti I feel like he's a fan first, and that's really good. And he definitely does a good job of delegating tasks and making sure that, you know, the people that are making decisions are the ones that are in control of making decisions. But at some point, Steve Bisciotti has to step up. We did talk about the potential firing of Zach Orr, but as Q mentioned, Zach Orr didn't ask to be the defensive coordinator. I'm sure he would love to be the defensive coordinator. He got that position, but it wasn't like he was begging for it. It wasn't like he said, give it to me or I'm going to, you know, throw the whole team under the bus. John Harbaugh chose Zachary Orr, and we talked about the inexperience that comes with that and learning on the fly. You can't do that with a football team that is inches away from being a champion. I mean, it boggles the mind. I think some of that is ego with John Harbaugh. And we all know the ego that's on the shoulders of John Harbaugh, and then it's come to bite him on the butt. So I agree with you guys. If it is Zachary Orr that goes, are we just, you know, pushing something to the side that needs to be addressed immediately? And I know people are talking about, well, if we fire John Harbaugh, who do we replace him with? Those are questions that you can have, but that doesn't solve the problem at hand. Is that this team seems lost, dejected. Doesn't seem like they are, you know, doesn't seem like they're in it at all. You saw Lamar Jackson after he went out the game. He did not look like he was having a good time. And if John Harbaugh is seeing that, Lamar Jackson not having a good time, nobody's having a good time. before we close out the show, I want to touch on another guy. We kind of talked about him earlier in the show, but I do want to bring him up again. Somebody who kind of dodged a bit of fire. Got to talk about him again, Todd Monken. Yes, this offense has done great the first 3 weeks, but it just seems like time and time again, he gets too cute. Do you think I've seen people talk about Lamar Jackson probably getting tied to Todd Monken. Could there be a change coming at the offense coordinator position, or is the track record, the stats that Lamar Jackson put up too good to get rid of him? Kevin, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think the other performances before this game, I don't think there's going to be a change there. I mean, I think the defense is the much bigger concern point, I would say. Like, that's the one that I'm looking at. Like, yes, Todd Monken has had bad moments at times this season, but, I mean, the offense is putting up points in bunches for the most part. Now, obviously, this game was a little bit of a different story, but I think that if there was to be a coordinator fired, it would be Zach Orr. I think that Harbaugh is going to ride it out with Todd Monken, and, in the offseason, things don't improve. I'm sure everybody on that staff will be gone, but I think that Monken is creative enough and he's good enough to kind of overcome some of the negatives that he has about him. But at the same time, like, it's just the same stuff. And it has been that way now for 2+ seasons, where we saw it again. The offense started off just coming out of the gate, scorching hot. And then it just kind of went nowhere. That's game plans and game flows that we've seen before from Todd Monken. Sometimes it's the opposite, where the offense will start really slow and then it's too little too late as they try to come back and win the game. That also isn't good. So I don't know. I mean, there's so much wrong right now that, again, like, it's kind of like the offensive line. Todd Monken is kind of a little bit lower down. Not that he deserves no criticism. He certainly does. But I think Harbaugh and Orr are, at least over the course of 4 weeks, you put all the 4 weeks together, those are the guys that I think deserve the most criticism.
Not only do they deserve the most criticism, I think that from a Todd Monken aspect of it all, you're talking about a guy who has coached an MVP. He has raised the level of play of pretty much all the guys on that team. I mean, from Bateman to Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Derrick Henry has had his best year last year. I don't think it's necessarily Todd Monken. There's some things that he needs to look at as far as how he executes it, from a play calling aspect of it all. But no, this is all John Harbaugh, and hold yourself accountable, D coordinator and Zach Orr.
Yeah, I agree completely. I will say this: they need to do a better job of utilizing Derrick Henry on 3rd and short, 4th and short. I don't want to see Lamar Jackson in shotgun formation on a 3rd and 1 ever again. As long as Derrick Henry's healthy, he needs to be on the football field at least minimum to give you the threat of running the football. No one's terrified of Justice Hill running the ball down the middle for a yard. Definitely puts some of the and the Ravens did do a good job, I will say, of keeping Derrick Henry in passing situations. Saw a lot of pass blocking from Derrick Henry in this game, and he looked good. So I don't understand the notion of keeping Derrick Henry out in crucial situations like that one. So, but I do agree with you. The stats, the records speak for themselves. I don't think Todd Monken is the problem. I will say this: if John Harbaugh does get fired, I mean, I'm sure whoever the coach is that comes in will have to bring in his own staff. And I'm sure Todd Monken will be a Raven in 2026 or beyond if he does, in fact, get fired. So Ravens fans want John Harbaugh to succeed. He hasn't done so, at least in my opinion, and this is just another testament to that. I want to thank everybody for coming on to the show today. Sour news is the Ravens fall, but we still got lots of games left to go, 13 games, in fact, for the Ravens to turn things around. Eric DeCosta has to get to work. John Harbaugh has to get to work. Lamar Jackson has to get to work. And we have to get to work and bring you this Ravens content. So again, appreciate you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you guys on Wednesday.